Welcome back to Books with AR. Wang Lin wryly smiled and said, "Disciple will definitely look fierce, Master. Don't worry." Chapter 39. Wealth. Sun Dazhu nodded his head in satisfaction and said, "You can keep this token. It will allow you to freely enter and exit this garden. But remember, you aren't allowed to touch any of the herbs without my permission." Wang Lin nodded. He knew that Sun Dazhu didn't like him, but seeing how he had already reached the third lair, Sun Dazhu at least recognized him as a disciple. Wang Lin respectfully left. Not long after, he arrived at the sword pavilion in the main courtyard. He had been here many years ago, and being here again made him remember the scene from back then. Outside the sword pavilion sat a disciple in white. He looked like he was 30 years old and kinda chubby. Wang Lin didn't recognize him, so it seemed he didn't participate in the intense training. He looked at Wang Lin and exclaimed, "Junior brother! You are only at the third lair? What are you doing here? This is a place only disciples of the fourth lair or higher can enter." Wang Lin remained silent. He took out the token Sun Dazhu gave him and tossed it over. After the fat disciple received the token, his face became strange, as if he was trying to hold back a smile. Soon, he couldn't hold it back any longer and burst out laughing. It seems to be elder brother-son tradition. I had forgotten about this. Elder brother's son has this tradition that at every one competition with another sect, he likes to show off a flying sword. Wang Lin became embarrassed, especially thinking about Sun Dazhu's serious expression before. He warily smiled. The fat man laughed for a long time. He forced down his laughter and waved his hand, saying, "Junior brother, you can go. I recommend the sword 3 from the right. That flying sword is really amazing. The first time I saw it, I thought it was the most amazing flying sword in the country of Zhao." Wang Lin quickly thanked the man and made his way toward the pavilion. When he was 5 meters away, he suddenly detected waves of energy from the pavilion, seeming to try to prevent him from entering. Seeing this, the fat man realized that he forgot to turn off the formation set around the pavilion. He wanted to tell Wang Lin, but right when he was about to speak, he suddenly stopped as if there was a fishbone stuck in his throat. His eyes grew large and stared at Wang Lin with a look of disbelief. Wang Lin felt the resistance and remembered the shame from back then. He snorted and kept moving forward. 5 meters, 4 meters, 3 meters, 2 meters, 1 meter. Despite the resistance increasing, it wasn't able to stop him at all, and he easily stepped into the sword pavilion. Once inside, he used his divine sense and found that the room he was currently in was very strange. It seemed his divine sense was restricted to only 3 meters in range. The fat man immediately jumped up with a shocked expression on his face. He was the disciple in charge of managing the sword pavilion, so he knew the power of the formations very well. Not to mention inner disciples, but a lot of elders couldn't force their way in like Wang Lin just had. Only when recruiting disciples was the power of the formation weakened hundreds of folds so that the sword's energy could be released to see if there were any matches. Is the formation broken? The fat man couldn't believe what just happened. He think the formation had to be broken, so he moved up to test it himself. Just when he entered the 5-meter range, he felt a very strong pressure that made him feel like he was a leaf in the turbulent sea. He was mercilessly thrown out. His body flew back and made an arc as he landed. He coughed out a few mouthfuls of blood after he landed on the ground. After a long time he recovered his senses. His face was filled with fear. He exclaimed, Not broken!" Wang Lin easily entered the room. Once inside, he saw that there were many flying swords of various lengths, all releasing powerful sword intent. Wang Lin scanned each sword one by one without stopping until he finally saw the sword that the fat man said was the most amazing-looking sword in the country of Zhao. After seeing it, Wang Lin was speechless. It could really be considered the most amazing-looking flying sword. It shouldn't really have even been regarded as a flying sword, but more like a rectangular sign. It was 2 palms wide, a meter long, and the whole body shined with a golden light. The reason for the golden light was not because this was some sword with a magical spell. The golden light was there because the entire sword was coated in gold. Also, don't think that the coat of gold was there just to hide some amazing sword under. It was just regular iron. On the handle were 2 large diamonds, and even the sword tassel was made from thin strips of gold. In short, taking the sword out to show people would really amaze them and maybe even make them think it was an amazing sword. Wang Lin stroked his chin. He is really optimistic about the sword. If anything else, at least if he ever needed money in the future, he can sell it for a lot of money. On the flying sword, there was a sign that read, "This sword's name is Wealth. It was made by a sect elder 500 years ago and said to have unimaginable power. But, in reality, this sword has been broken and rebuilt many times. However, because the elder had done much for the sect, his last will was to leave the sword here in hopes that it finds someone fitting in the future. Whoever chooses the sword must treat it well. If it breaks, it must be immediately repaired. If it's sold, then the person who sold it will be kicked from the sect." Wang Lin couldn't hold in his laughter. He picked up the sword and said, "I'll choose you then. But I, Wang Lin, am a poor man, so if you break, don't expect me to put you back together." After putting the flying sword away in his bag of holding, he left the room. The fat man outside looked nervous. Instead of the mocking laughter from before, he respectfully sent Wang Lin off. Wang Lin's divine sense was restricted in the pavilion, so he didn't see what happened to the fat man, so he was surprised at why the fat man suddenly became so respectful. After returning to Sun Deju's garden, Wang Lin took out the sword. Sun Deju was stunned, and after mumbling to himself for a while, he glanced thoughtfully at Wang Lin and said, "When I saw this sword before, I didn't have the guts to take it, but it seems you have guts. Good. Take this sword with you to the competition in 3 days and show it off to the elders." 3 days later, the bell in the Heng Yue Sect rang 9 times. It echoed for a very long time through the mountain. The head, all the elders, and many disciples all stood outside the main hall. They saw a black dot appear in the sky. The black dot got closer and closer to them until they saw it was a 1,000-foot-long centipede. The centipede was completely black. It seemed to step on black clouds as it thunderously roared towards them. All of the Heng Yue Sect inner disciples took a deep breath, their eyes filled with fear. Some of the female disciples' faces became pale and their legs became weak. "What's the big deal about it? Although this 1,000-foot-long centipede looks scary, if everyone here struck it with a sword, it will still die," the red-faced man next to the sect head shouted. His voice was very loud. It seemed he wanted the people on the centipede to hear it. Welcome back to Books with AR. Chapter 40. Guest. Another elder stared at the centipede and whispered, "The Xuan Dao Sect is always like this, trying to bully my Heng Yue Sect because we don't have a spirit beast. If there is a chance, we must kill that spirit beast. Then we'll see how they will show off." The sect head coldly snorted. A purple sword suddenly appeared before him. The sword flew into the sky and became a giant purple dragon. It coiled above the Heng Yue Sect and roared at the centipede. The 1,000-foot centipede suddenly stopped and didn't dare to continue. Suddenly, a loud laugh could be heard from the top of the centipede. "Huanglong, it is rumored that this purple sword contains the soul of a dragon. It seems that that rumor is not fake. Friend, I'm here now, and if we win again, the Heng Yue Sect must keep their promise and return the 137 treasures that were stolen from us, as well as give us 200 flying swords as compensation." The sect head's expression remained normal. There was no trace of anger. He indifferently said, "Friend Young, if the Xuan Dao Sect wins this time, the Heng Yue Sect will naturally do as promised. But if you guys lose, then you must hold back on your technique to control spirit beasts. While he was speaking, the purple dragon slowly dissipated and turned back into a purple sword. It returned to sect head Huanglong's hand. The 1,000-foot centipede started to move forward again. It circled above the Heng Yue Sect as it slowly descended. The inner disciples all pulled back to make room. All of the elders had frowns on their faces from seeing the disciples recoiling. After the centipede landed, it remained motionless. Dozens of people jumped down from the centipede's back. Besides 3 elders, everyone else was very young. The Xuan Dao Sect had both male and female disciples. It seemed like they were making fun of the Heng Yue Sect because they knew that the Heng Yue Sect didn't have many purple-clothed disciples, so every one of them was wearing purple. Another thing that surprised the Heng Yue Sect disciples was that every single Xuan Dao Sect disciple was good-looking. The males were extraordinarily handsome and full of masculinity. His long sleeves and hair fluttered in the wind, with a flying sword on his back that made him look even cooler. His appearance completely enchanted a few of the female inner disciples. The female disciple wore full purple, with hair long like a waterfall, bright red lips, and with beautiful eyes could move anyone's heart. Even Wang Lin couldn't stop his heart from beating faster when he saw her. He became very surprised as he carefully looked at her, and quickly became more cautious. Seeing all the disciples with memorized looks in their faces, one of the elders finally couldn't stand it anymore and shouted, "When did the Xuan Dao Sect started practicing charm arts? It is simply too despicable." The shout quickly awakened many of the inner disciples. All of them had a surprised expressions. One of the 3 elders of the Xuan Dao Sect laughed and said, "This must be Elder Daozhu. My name is Qin Brule. You should take a closer look. My 2 disciples here didn't practice any charm arts, but were born with water spirit roots. I can see that among all of the Heng Yue Sect disciples, none of them are of such a pure spirit root. All of them are mixture of all 5 elements. No wonder you can't tell the difference." All of the Heng Yue Sect elders' expressions became unsettled. After a long time, sect head Huanglong's expression remained the same, as he changed the subject and said, "Friends of the Xuan Dao Sect, first rest at our sect. The competition will begin in 3 days." Elder Aoyang nodded. Smiling, he said, "Very good. Our Xuan Dao Sect has had these competitions with the Heng Yue Sect for years, but although there are some disputes, there is no need to hurt our relation." Among the many elders of the Heng Yue Sect, a very old man walked out. His face was full of wrinkles, and he somewhat looked like he had no energy. He lightly chuckled and said to Ayan, "Good friend Aoyang, it has been 20 years. Do you still remember me?" Elder Aoyang laughed out loud. "I've already seen you, old friend Song Dalyu. This time, you must let me have some more of your homemade wine. I didn't have enough because you were too stingy last time. You only brought out 1 jar. Elder Song smiled. "It's not that I'm stingy, it's that when you start drinking wine, it's too scary. No matter how many jars I bring out, it's not enough." As they talked, the other 2 elders of the Xuan Dao Sect found familiar faces and started chatting as if the unfriendly words before were never said. As they talked about things that were happening in the cultivating world of the country of Zhao, the eyes of the disciples of both sects really opened up. Things like, the Wu Feng sect had a male disciple seduce the Misty sect head female disciple and made her pregnant. The Mist sect head went to the Wu Feng sect for justice, but came back with a baby. Or the Heaven sect had some disciples abandon the sect and join the He-Hound sect. After some of them started spreading the benefits of joining the He-Hound sect, more and more disciples abandoned the Heaven sect, which made the Heaven sect's head so mad that he sent out a kill order for any disciple that abandoned the sect. Or about some genius baby being born, and finally, about the Misty Sect's core foundation expert's birthday being in a few months, so all of the friendly sects would send people to attend, and such. Wang Lin listened for a long time and started to have a very blurred impression of the cultivating world in the country of Zhao. At one point, he suddenly felt someone looking at him. He turned his head and saw that female disciple from the Xuan Dao Sect looking at him with a faint smile on her face. Wang Lin nodded his head and secretly put up his guard.
He didn't believe that he had the charm to attract someone's attention among all of the disciples present. Liu Mei was the leader of the inner disciples at the Xuan Dao Sect and was very confident in her innate charm ability. Within the Xuan Dao Sect, almost no one her age could resist. But that ordinary-looking youth was the first to recover, which surprised her. She couldn't help but take a few more looks, but no matter how she looked at Wang Lin, he was only at the third layer and was nothing out of the ordinary. As the elders talked, the disciples of the two sects also started to chat with each other to prepare for the competition that was to come. All of the Xuan Dao Sect disciples seemed to have a mysterious fog that hid their cultivation level. Wang Lin was also surprised that he became interested in the Xuan Dao Sect. This technique seems similar to the disguise pill, but on a higher level. The Heng Yue Sect disciples seemed to focus all of their attention on that male and female, all of them with their own ideas. But Wang Lin noticed a strange phenomenon. All of the disciples of the Xuan Dao Sect, from the looks in their eyes, seemed to show signs of respect to a middle-aged man in the back. Giving that person a thoughtful look, Wang Lin withdrew his gaze, lowered his head, and remained silent.